Greetings, heroes. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again for another session of Mythia. We will rejoin our characters in just a moment, but first I would like to give you our disclaimer. We here at the Homebrew channel reserve the right to be horrible, crass, and crude when the story calls for it, but also to be delightful, sweet, and tug on your heartstrings. And remember, noble heroes, do try this at home. So, we return back to our heroes. Isaac, Roland, and Juniper are in her secret laboratory deep in the Crystal Forest. But that is not who we will focus on first. Instead, we rejoin the crew on the Outrunner, which, for the first time in quite a few days, is returning to some sense of normalcy, just with 2 ogres and a dragon. Potjack, Prongor, and the dragon. You will find, strangely enough, as you survey the deck of the Outrunner, you will find an odd pairing on the front bow of the ship. Prongor and Jania are laughing it up on the front of the deck, and Jania is in the middle of carrying a crate, which means she stopped working in order to talk with him. Prongor seems to be pointing a lot. Like he's following directions in his mind somewhere. And she slaps her knee with a stinger that he gives, or something else. Bali is going to look over towards you, and the two of you share an unusual glance together as both of your eyes trail simultaneously in their direction. Potjack is doing exactly what he has done for the last half hour, which is laying out on the deck, allowing his belly to catch the sun as his leathers ride up, and drumming a small beat upon his girth. Shadow has been napping, sort of curled up like a cat, as small as possible on the port side of your ship. And Kleeby has been stuck up in the crow's nest the whole time. First, because Potjack won't move. But second, because Shadow is on deck. And you hear a hammering come to your ears from below the ship.
Okay. She's going to gesture while looking at Bali for both of them to head over to Jania and Prongor first.
All right.
She looks a little stormy-faced.
You hear Prongor say, "And those bagels, I'll tell you," he says. "Shrimp, clams on bread." You see Jania's face sort of look wistfully off. "Oh, I remember," she says. And then she's going to turn as you approach, and then she sort of looks over towards you and sees you coming, kind of, anyway, I've got to get back to work, she says, and is going to quickly walk away from the situation. Prongor is going to sort of like look around and then see you, realizes what is happening by like the look on his face, sort of an aha. And then is going to turn towards you. "Captain," he says, with his metal arm going to a bow.
When she was observing her interactions with Prongor, did she look like she was flirting at all?
Give me an insight check. DC,
Yeah.
DC 8.
14. Wait, no. Oh my god, it's been so long. 18.
No. Jania is very obvious when she flirts. Her stance takes on a sort of S pose. She was joking it up. Almost like she was talking to a friend.
She'll say, "Greetings, Prongor. You seemed to be having a good time talking to my crew."
You see him straighten up as much as possible in your direction. He doesn't loom over you, but his sort of bent gives him a sort of cliffside lean over you and Bali. He goes, "I apologize for taking up the time of your crew. We were reminiscing on Selhawks, he says.
No apologies are needed from you. She knows her duty. It's not your place to know it.
He says, indeed. Well, I shan't take up any of your time either.
Good day. She walks away.
You're going to hear him whistle out the tune that you have heard a couple times on the Selenox docks. Prongor looks like he might be in better spirits than of recent days. You hear, damn it, down below. Bali kind of starts and is going to nod down. You want me to check on it? She says.
Go ahead. I'm going to take care of the Klebe situation, she says.
As Bali goes to head down, you,
She's going to climb up to the crow's nest, where Klebe is.
You easily lift yourself up the mast. Prongor is going to, roll over slightly so you can get to the lowest ropes and rungs. He says, "Hey, you know we're moving out?"
When they get back.
He's going to stand up and try to look over the trees, but he's not quite that tall. So he just winds up looking at the trunks. What's that going to be? Taking a long damn time.
You didn't pay us for speed.
He says, I paid you a lot of money.
But not for speed, she calls back down.
He kind of looks off, and you're going to see him get a disconcerted view in the direction of the crown clock. It's fine, he says.
She's going to pause for a second. Are you in a hurry? She asks.
Well, yeah, he says. He's going to plop back down on his butt.
Insight check. Was he lying?
Sure. Give me an insight check.
8. It's a really sad day when I can't tell. Podjack.
You don't know Podjack well enough.
She'll continue back up to Klebe.
Alright. Klebe is going to... You're going to find a sorry state for Klebe. He is huddled in the very middle of his nest, surrounded by a number of bibs and bobs, many of which you are sure are Isaac's, Juniper's, and Roland's. He has a collection, slightly about half his size, built up at the bottom of his nest. A collection of pilfered goods that nobody would notice.
Is it bad that she kind of approves?
You think you see a pair of tweezers, which you know are no one on the cruise. You see a piece of, it looks like the end of a noose, and a very small dagger, which is definitely Giran made by his short stock. Klebe's going to look up, and he is startled when he sees you come to the rise. He says, huh?
You looked like you could use some company. Can I get in?
Okay, he says in Podjack's voice.
She climbs in. This is quite a collection.
He is curled, his arms around his knees, balled up in the center of his nest. But he's not, fallen over. He's, sitting upright.
How are you doing? She asks.
He's going to look away as a child who is a little startled might. Okay.
That was less convincing, she says.
That was less convincing, he says.
You know, they're going to be with us a while, she says. I don't want you suffering like this.
I know, he says in Jania's voice.
She sits down.
He's going to walk up towards the edge, and as he did earlier when Bali had threatened him, he peeks over the edge of his leather-bound nest to look down at Shadow. He's going to turn towards you, and Trista's voice says, "Does it have to be?"
She looks away for a minute. It does.
"Because of fate," he says in your voice when you made your speech. He says,
"Because of fate."
"Sanctioned by kings and given by dragons."
Are you going to use the whole thing back at me? She asks.
He shakes his head. He comes over and he sits down very close to you, sort of snuggles up to your side.
She puts an arm around him. "I know you're afraid. But you know what I've always said about fear."
He's going to repeat those words back to you in your voice, exactly as you said them.
She would have said, "You can't run from what you're afraid of."
He's going to turn and he says, "That's how his mother got killed," in Ronan's voice. "When the harpies bit her in half, I had to save the egg."
Are you afraid? Or do you hate Shadow?
He shrugs, sullen, sort of angsty. Suddenly, he's going to stand up. He says, "Quest." And he's going to walk up towards the edge. He's going to roll himself over it and begin to climb down the mast.
Clebe, she'll call, "Wait!" and she'll start climbing down after him.
Okay. Roll an athletics check. Clebe has climbed ropes since he was born.
Oh, you got this covered.
Yep. 20.
As fast as you can go, it is not as fast as Clebe. He is going to descend, using his small weight to fall distances that you couldn't possibly fall without breaking your arm, hanging onto ropes for a mere moment, and then using that to kill his momentum and drop farther. He is going to land on Potjack's big belly and bounce off. Potjack's going to look startled down his nose at Clebe, and then, "Ooh, Birdie, no, you do that," he says, looking up at Euphemia. "Hey, where's that blanket, by the way?" Potjack says.
She rolls her eyes.
He says, "Get a suntan on my belly."
Well, maybe it'll look better with a tan.
Clebe is going to walk boldly towards the shadow.
Euphemia tries to speed up.
You get down to the bottom, and you see he has sort of put his arm out towards the curled sleeping shadow, like a lion tamer, moving through the circus ring towards its quarry.
She'll shout, "Clebe!"
As you yell in the direction of Shadow, she is going to look up, mostly curiously, but Clebe clearly, freaks out. His feathers lift on the back of his head in a way you haven't seen since he was almost grabbed by a giant squid off the edge of the ship. I need you to roll a insight check, please.
16.
You think you see it now. Shadow's head, you believe it reminds Clebe of a harpy. As Shadow is going to what Clebe's point of view must look like her slamming her fist down and raising her giant body up to strike. He's going to... Shadow is going to stop. She says. Clebe's going to turn and run back towards you. Shadow returns after him. He looks back, terrified, and is going to push his face into your chest.
She's going to reach down and pick him up, which looks a little silly because she's so small. But
the look on Shadow's face is easily readable. Sad.
As she's holding Cleby, she'll say, I don't know if I ever told you the story of when I met Shadow before.
He's going to shake his head violently. He doesn't want to hear it.
It's okay. You did good trying.
Shadow is going to avoid the two of you by a wide berth and then slip into the belly of the ship. We will move. But in our movement, I would like to go ahead and read you all something. We'll do this for effect. Poor Jack had forgotten where the dragon Yinjosu lived. Well, that's not entirely true. The merc knew where he lived. He just had forgotten what was next to his home. There were too many spawns in the trees. She would know. He wasn't ready yet. He wasn't ready for the wiggles and the squirming. Maybe the world wasn't ready. He could jump his way out of the wood, but that was loud and obvious. He needed to travel fast and quiet-like. Then, fate decided to give him a ride. If he was being honest, Potjack might have admitted that he wouldn't have let them leave him behind. He had bartered like a master, though, and if she did show up, these many heroes would have to fight her, and he could bail as quickly as he pleased. He didn't like to leave like that. It struck a blow to his reputation, after all, and if they survived, he might suffer years of ridicule, especially after being beaten by Euphemia for a second time now. The thought of fighting her and winning, though, it seemed impossible. And he was ready to relax, not die. He could hardly believe his luck. He was a genius. It was a small price to pay to avoid his mother one more time. We return to the laboratory. The three of you have gotten a good sense of its, well, the two of you, I should say, have gotten a good sense of its dimensions at this point, having been here for about an hour. Juniper, have you made any explicit attempts to hide anything in the laboratory from them?
I don't think there's anything out that needs to be hidden at the moment.
What have you all done since your success, your stunning success? Juniper, you would say this was one for the books. You're sure that in the medical journals that you write after this event, you will use this as a prime example of how to remove darkness from a unconscious target. However, you can't quite say that this is a normal circumstance. Normally, darkness is only removable in the first hour that a target has been infected. And even then, most of the times they're dead anyway.
She's making notes as she keeps an eye on walks.
So you are observing as a scientist would with a recording device?
For the most part, but yeah.
Roland, what are you up to? There isn't a ton of stuff once you've sort of made a circuit of the area of the laboratory, and Juniper seems to be keen on keeping you inside.
I mean, he's probably either sitting against a wall, waiting.
There are some stools at a table.
The wall is good.
Wall's fine. I don't know, he's probably bored as hell.
Isaac.
So, are all of the books in this room up towards the ceiling?
Are there books in the laboratory?
Last session you described him taking some down and putting them under a microscope.
So this isn't Yonjasu's laboratory, this is
This is
Juniper's crystal
mine.
laboratory.
Oh.
And
This was
no, This seems very clinical and very sterile environment.
Okay.
Everything seems to be put away. There are
Okay.
cabinets, and they all appear to have like some sort of magical lock on
So
them.
everything has a place, and you keep everything.
Yes.
Got it. Do
It's
I see?
like almost obsessively neat.
So you are probably 30 miles from Yanjasi's cave in this laboratory.
Right. Okay, it's all coming back to me now. Do I see any notes or documents laying out?
Trying to think of what the last experiment she'd done in here. Probably not. She seemed you get the feeling that she cleans up after every time, and that she probably runs some sort of a cleaning spell.
Okay.
So everything would be put into a place.
Okay. I would keep perusing the lab, but I'd try and take inspiration from how she has things set up to see if I can, like, learn anything for myself.
Juniper, is there an automaton in here?
There's probably unseen servants that clean things.
Okay. So you all will see at least once sort of an invisible hand lift up one of the implements and put it back in its spot.
Okay.
That gives you the knowledge, you know what an unseen servant is.
Right.
You would see like some equipment and stuff behind glass cabinets. So
Okay.
you can see how she's got things placed in some spots, but most of it's covered.
Okay.
You do see a few containment instruments, kind of the bell jar thing going on.
They have, like, specimens inside them?
No, not anymore. They're
Okay.
clean. But you can tell that she obviously had them at some point.
Right. Isaac would think very highly of a godmother's laboratory as opposed to, like, his own laboratory, so he's trying to take something away from it.
Juniper, as you record the final notes for your journal, you will look down at the specimen and see two bright, huge amber eyes look up at you.
She widens her eyes. She goes, you're awake.
Gra. Hi, he says in Aarakocra, a very unusual dialect of the Aarakocra language.
She goes, you're going to hear her trill in the same tone as him. And she goes,
Mama.
you do see an odd look cross her face for a moment. No.
Mama.
Is there any reason she would think that maybe, like, something happened to his brain during this?
That is a recordable theory.
She quickly jots down a note or two, and then she goes, how are you feeling?
You guys are going to see the little Kiwi struggle against his bonds and try to sit up several times.
She goes, you see her hold on to go, relax, just a moment.
Release?
In just a moment, how are you feeling?
He's going to seem, his eyes sort of search. He says, hungry. Mama, get food?
You can see her look vaguely uncomfortable for a moment, and she kind of shrugs, and she goes, we'll get you something to eat on the way back.
He's going to turn. He looks over towards Isaac. Daddy?
You see June do this number.
This is all still in Aarakocra, right? That
Yeah.
dialect of Aarakocra? Okay.
You hear it trill a bunch.
She goes, do you remember how to speak common?
He says, in common. Uh-huh, yeah.
And in common she goes, good, let's stick to that. They don't know your language.
He nods. Okay, Mama.
You see her just go. She walks over and she unstraps him. And
Okay.
she starts checking him out.
As you do, and you try to check him out, he is going to try to get up. He is very weak, and he's going to wobble heavily when
She
he
catches
stands. He weighs almost nothing. You're able to lift him easily and place him back on his feet. They collapse underneath him as soon as he tries to move.
Poor little guy.
How big is he relative to us? Like, standing up, he's that tall?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say he's about 2.5 feet.
How much of him is feather?
Most of him. By like holding him, you compress him in. He's about a quarter of that size. He says, legs not work. feel weak. We on road?
We will be soon.
He says, oh no!
It's all right. We will help you. You'll get your strength back, I believe.
He says, okay.
She,
Can you help?
if you would.
Yeah, food.
Isaac's still walking around the lab, and he says, Juniper, do you keep any sort of rations in here?
No, not here. However, she goes... She taps her brooch on her chest, and it flips off, and then she bops it, and she starts rooting through it, and she goes, do I know what they eat?
As you consider it, you are blasted with food. Food from my mouth, mama.
So, does she?
Give me a d20. Just a roll.
8.
No, you did not consider that possibility.
What do you want to eat?
He says, what my choice is?
What can you have?
He says, food.
At least he's not picky.
She goes, I'm not entirely certain most of this will be suitable. She drums her fingers for a moment, looking vaguely perplexed, as she considers if it would be a horrible idea to give him rock candy and marshmallows.
Isaac was about to say marshmallows.
She thinks this would be a poor choice, considering it's already, a little hyper, and, well, it's a bird. However, I do give him to Clebe. Still no. She digs a bit, and then she manages to find some bread, and she goes, here we go. And she gives it to him.
No.
She hands it to you, Roland. And she goes, I need to take some notes, if you didn't mind.
He's going to, he'll look towards Roland and then,
She gives you a cheeky smile as she picks up her notes quickly and starts making notes.
He tears a piece off.
he won't eat from you. No.
So you must not be hungry then.
He says, very hungry. Mommy feed.
Didn't he call him Daddy?
Isaac.
Oh, crap. She goes, Isaac, would you mind? I really do need to take notes.
Me?
I only called you father.
Oh, I didn't hear that part. He puts his hand out and he takes the bread. Oh my goodness. Alright, and he plucks off another piece and holds it out to the bird.
Let me know if there's anything I can do.
He is going to,
There you go. Is it to your liking?
he'll eat like a small handful, and then he's going to, me thirsty, he says.
Well, surely you have some water around
She
you.
pulls up a thermos with water.
Oh, perfect.
As you,
She was doing it
uncork
as he said
he's
it.
going to leap at it and plunge his beak directly into the canteen.
Okay, Isaac's gonna drop the cork and then hold on to it with both hands so it doesn't get
You
knocked out.
feel like a very tiny something sort of flitting into the canteen. You believe it's his tongue.
Okay.
He's going to hold his face there until... and he sticks his face back in the canteen again.
Okay. If I move it, does his head follow it at all? Okay, I'm gonna move it and place it on the table and then animate the canteen to stand up. And then Isaac's gonna let go.
Alright, as soon as you do that, he kicks it and knocks all the water out.
What are you doing? You said you were thirsty.
He looks at it, and then he's going to go up and try to eat it.
I'm not gonna do anything. I'm
He
just
looks
gonna
up
watch him
very
for a
confused
second.
at you. Not food?
Isaac's gonna lean in close and say, "Why did you think this was food?" And then he's gonna de-animate it.
It move.
I see. Do you try and eat everything that moves?
No, I didn't try to eat you.
Smart.
Vaguely
Well, then how
scared.
about this? And he's gonna animate the bread and have the bread start walking.
As soon as you do that, he is going to like turn and clearly like enthusiastically move and then just like face plant.
Oh,
And then he's gonna like sort of shake himself off and then like run after it and then pluck it off the ground.
Oh, so he can move now?
He does manage to sort of like flop his legs under him like a Muppet.
Juniper, I think he likes to hunt for his meals.
So it would seem. You see June is avidly taking notes as she watches you do this.
I don't know how I feel about being a lab assistant to this kind of thing.
He is going to sort of like start, as soon as he's got drink and food, he's going to like start like exploring. He kind of goes to the edges of the table and starts looking off under the ground.
Do I sense anything other than a regular animal from this thing? I know he's a messenger, right?
He is, yeah.
Okay.
You haven't seen him do anything messengery yet.
Okay.
Well, other than the fact that he's an Aarakocra who can talk.
Yeah, that too.
Which is weird. Just saying. Just thought about that, and now I'm concerned. Maybe it's a messenger thing.
Isaac has recorked the canteen, and he's gonna like... Is your box still open? The beetle box?
It is.
Okay, he's gonna walk over and just like drop it back in.
She goes... And she reaches down, and she clearly puts it in its proper place.
Okay. What does it look like if I look into the beetle box?
I never really actually set that up, so can I just make it be what I want it to be?
I was thinking, like, if I look at it, maybe I just see a chest with some essentials in it, but when you look at it,
Have you
you
ever
see,
seen
like...
a caboodle?
I have no idea what a caboodle is.
Okay, it's a makeup box.
Oh, is it the thing that rolls out?
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily roll out, but it has like lots of weird compartments and then strange
Okay.
configurations.
Like when it opens, like different shelves.
It's like that.
I know exactly what that is. Okay, so it's like super complex and there's tons of slots and...
Yes.
Okay.
Think tiny home,
Okay. I
but
got it.
for storage containers.
Yeah, Isaac's just like...
Yes. You see her twitch slightly, try to resist, and can't. She fixes it.
Roland is very, very happy about this interaction. He's dying inside.
Roland, you're going to see Walks look down and sort of look towards the edge of the far side of the lab, and he has this like wondrous look on his eyes. And then you're going to see little tiny bird feet burn to the table, and he is over there. He is standing on a far corner of the area, and he's going to pick up a knife with his wing.
Huh?
He says, "Hunt!"
You see her make another notation.
Juniper, what did you say this thing's name was?
Do we know?
Walks
it
no
is.
roads.
Okay, she says.
Walks no
Walks
roads.
no roads, according to the messengers.
Juniper, please do try to make sure that he does not make it outside this lab, because if he tries to hunt in the Crystal Forest, I'm worried about what may happen.
Trust me, nothing can get out unless I let it.
Okay, so the room's closed.
Oh, yes. Yes, it's very contained.
He's still probably Roland's moving to the door just in case he tries to get out of it.
Roland, would you like to try and befriend this thing? That's
I don't
more up
think
your
it
alley
is.
than mine.
I don't think it has any interest in being friends with me. You guys are its parents.
Right, which is why it does not want to be my friend.
I hear you.
And what do you think of all this?
Says, "I want to be your friend."
Hey,
Well,
little
good.
man, why don't you start and put down the knife?
You have knife.
It's not a knife.
You have big knife.
Yeah.
And you have pokey pokey spear.
Is it one of my scalpels?
Big
or
fork.
what type of
It's
knife
a
is
scalpel.
it? Is it one of my nice ones?
They're all nice.
Yeah, but like one of my favorite ones. Okay. She quirks her head and she just goes, "As long as you promise not to use it on anyone right now, you may keep it."
He says, "Okay,
She shrugs.
where hunt?"
"Not here. Where we are, you're not allowed to hunt. But once we leave the Crystal Forest, you may.
"No hunt.
Not yet.
When leave?"
Soon. As soon as you're able to..." She realizes how stupid that statement is the moment she starts saying it. She goes, "I suppose we can go now."
Okay, good.
But you must promise to stay with us.
Yes, promise.
May I incite the bird?
Yeah, with disadvantage.
I'm going to incite the bird.
Can I just aid him?
Yes. You have an 8, Isaac.
I crit.
Good.
All right, what is it?
A 20. I crit.
What,
Oh,
plus is it?
28. Sorry.
28.
That's the other reason I decided to aid
Your
you.
experience with Klebe gives you a lot of insight into bird faces. You can tell that he is seemingly quite happy-go-lucky, seems completely unburdened by any kind of outside thought, and acts sort of on instinct.
Okay, so he's very surface level.
Yes.
Does it look like he is lying, though, or that he will ignore his promise?
You're not sure how he's going to remember a promise very long. You would equate him to a toddler.
Isaac thinks that if he goes back on his promise, it's because in the moment he just changed his mind.
However, he seems to have taken quite a liking to both you and Juniper. Especially Juniper.
Okay, so he says, I promise, and then Isaac looks at you and just goes... He starts walking towards the door.
June smiles. She thinks he's really cute.
He's going to rush towards the beetle box. I stab?
No.
He says as he pulls up
She
the knife.
taps it, and it becomes small, flies up, and she catches it.
He looks up at you with a happy face and then says, okay, I'm ready.
Completely clear of darkness now.
As far as you can tell.
He can sense that, right?
Yes.
She looks
With your divine sensibility.
She looks at you. Can you check in one more time for me?
Yeah, sure.
Your eyes are going to glaze over with light, and you see no darkness within him.
He's clean.
What was that? What was that?
I didn't know it was on sound mode. Never is.
The Kiwi is going to look up towards you. Gary.
He's pretty light, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's awkward. Yes?
Yeah, his legs kind of hang down.
How light?
Oh
Less than 50 pounds, right?
yeah, much less.
She goes, I won't be able to hold you like that, but would you mind if I do it like this? She just does that, and she pulls him over to her.
He's going to and then he's going to try to swing himself to do a little spin in the air.
Can he?
If you let him.
She just allows it.
Alright. He is going to sort of start to circle slowly in orbit around you.
June then picks up her pen and makes another notation.
When we go.
Are you both ready?
Ready as ever.
She gives him another kind of a look, and she shrugs and says, all right. She gestures for you guys to...
As you
Proceed.
step out.
She, you have to hold on to her. She goes, actually, she steps forward. Just hold on to my shoulders.
Okay.
He's going to push his wing out towards you, but can't quite reach.
Does that.
You feel Isaac's hand is very cold and bony and lifeless.
Right.
It's kind of discomforting.
You're going to see Walks grimace in pain as he comes out the other side.
She goes, I'm sorry, Walks. I forgot to tell you what happened. Are
He
you
goes,
alright?
It's okay, I find Mama.
What a strong boy.
He says, as he looks out, wonderstruck at the crystal forest. Big hunt! No road!
No, there isn't a road. You're
He's
right.
going to...
In
But he can't go anywhere.
midair.
So his legs just supersonic for 1 second, and then
Fascinating. She's never tried to hold up a messenger before.
Isaac's backed up a little bit and he says, you better not let go of him.
I am I'm
You're going to
glad
feel
he
a
does.
wave of superheated air flow out from him.
How about we not do that right now, Oxnard?
Yeah, me tired, he says as he sort of like floats to the side.
She holds him steady this time.
Me dizzy, he says as he writes.
Well then.
So, remind me, our original intent when going to your lab was to...
Do the procedure to remove the darkness from him.
And he was given to you by some of the other...
By
Your
the
organization?
messengers.
By the
Apparently the godmothers captured him
Okay.
with one of our spells or something along that lines. And yes.
That was very believable.
Yes.
Mhm.
Anyway, so we captured him by accident, honestly, and well,
And you were intrigued by the opportunity to, like, work with him.
well, I am one of the foremost knowledges about darkness.
Right.
So they brought him to me.
Okay.
What you, Knife Elf?
What's that?
What you?
What do you mean? What's my name?
Yeah.
Roland.
Roland.
How old are you?
I don't know.
Do you remember anything from before?
No, I just born.
She looks at you and says, "What's your language?" She goes, "Nice, Roland."
I'm so sorry.
She looks like she honestly hadn't considered the fact that he wouldn't remember anything, and she looks a little chagrined at herself.
You big hunt?
Yeah, sometimes.
He
To
says.
tell them.
How you fly?
You'll see.
Lux, this is Isaac. You may call him Isaac, and my name is Juniper. You may call me Juniper.
Dada mama.
It would probably be better to call me Juniper and him Isaac, though.
Mama.
She slumps her shoulders. Knowing this is a fight she's not going to win, she's not even going to try it anymore.
It was worth a shot.
Indeed.
Juniper, do you think that that's a result of your extraction?
It's possible, but we don't know. There's never really been another example of a person who resisted the darkness like this.
I suppose.
And
Dada, you dead?
Isaac pauses and then looks over at the bird and smiles and says, "I'm just very cold."
He says, okay.
June actually did that number for a moment.
You're a sharp young man. You know that, right?
He says, good smell.
Ah, that must be it. And then Isaac, like, kind of stealthily, like, sniffs his armpits to see if he stinks. He's always been curious about whether or not he smells like the dead, and he's never been able to, like, Prongor wouldn't notice. So,
Even with his big nose.
She goes, "Do you remember how you got here?"
He shakes his head.
She
No.
thought it was worth a try asking anyway. All right. Well, perhaps it would be best if the messengers explained it to him.
I agree.
The messengers.
Who day? Hunt?
More like deliver.
Hunt?
Let's get out of the forest and I'll let you hunt something.
He's going to, like, he really doesn't stop being odd. He's just going to kind of, like, glazedly hover about near Juniper and try to, like, kick himself in directions to stare at stuff.
June turns to you and says, "Have you ever done a procedure on living creatures?
Yes.
Did they remain living?"
Yes.
She's not. I didn't mean that in an offensive way. I apologize. That came off oddly.
Isaac is a cleric.
No, I'm not talking like a healing cleric like thing.
You just said procedure.
Okay.
I mean, a medical
She goes,
procedure.
Perhaps I should specify an experiment of sorts.
Isaac pauses and then says, yes.
What sort? As we're walking. She's just curious now. Clearly she's just trying to get to know you.
Isaac will recall the tale of... Daniel, you will have to help me remember the name of the village he passed through that was assaulted by that fever that he helped cure.
Right, the Crimson Fever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember the name of it, actually.
So Isaac will tell you a story about a small town he passed through on his travels, and they were being afflicted by an infectious disease he had never seen before or heard of, known as the Crimson Fever, and how it was carried explicitly by undead. And his methods of going about finding a cure and helping out the people in the town and stuff like that.
This is an out-of-game question. Did you take notes on it? Did you give them to anyone?
No, he was like in the moment trying to figure it out. He didn't write anything down.
What about afterwards? Did you ever publish or anything? Okay.
No.
Give me a history check, Juniper. DC 20 with advantage.
I have like 6 D20s. There's one.
At the end of the story, he will ask, as an expert, where do you think it came from? What the vector of infection would be that would
21.
bring those undead to a town like that.
You remember the outbreak. Undead riding glaciers from Vars spread out through the countryside to the east of Selenox.
I'm sorry, say that one more time, please.
Undead riding glaciers from Vars crashed upon the shore
And
to
they were
the
the
east
ones
of
that spread
Selenox and
this?
spread out through the countryside. The plague eventually burnt itself out, but it did kill several hundred people.
Did I ever hear about his particular village?
It was one of the many. But you do remember that their statistics were less significant.
She goes... You see her pause for a moment, and she goes... That would explain why that particular region fared better than others. She goes, yes, I remember that particular outbreak. It was started... She will then explain that it was started by undead that rode glaciers from Mars.
My case did have an interesting ending. It almost got away and kept spreading through a particularly powerful undead. It was Khaled? Is that her name?
Khaled the Conqueror.
Khaled the Conqueror.
Her eyes widen. Yes, I am familiar with that particular menace.
She's been turned to darkness, and she was carrying the plague, and I managed to convince her to let me cure it from her and keep my head intact.
I would love to know how you managed that.
I'd tell you, but even I'm not quite so sure.
Well, that is very impressive, Isaac.
I hope I never see her again. So let me make that clear.
Most people have that particular feeling towards... Yeah. She just kind of gives you a look.
Well, and you can tell that Walks is clearly, not on the same level of conversation. And the moment it got, anything beyond, hunt or walk or move, he just kind of zones out and starts checking out the countryside.
Much the same.
You guys find yourselves
I am
brothers in this.
I'm pretty intrigued
The
by
Crystal Forest
Lizzie's
is cool.
entire memory, though.
You're not intrigued at all about his whole encounter with Khaled the
But you
Conqueror?
can ask him that later.
The thing
I'll
is,
bring him
well,
to
no,
this forest.
okay. The whole conversation is people are sick. He's it sucks. Oh shit! The end got exciting for a second. It's oh, by the way, it's you could have led with that. I would have paid attention the whole time.
And then Isaac says, as far as more scientific experiments go, I guess you could always look to Prongor as an example of my work.
Yes, his additions are quite impressive.
Oh, thank you. There are quite a few who are less fortunate than him, but, the price of progress and such.
Clockworks have always been a hobby of my own, so it's interesting to see others who use the methods.
Have you yourself ever taken mechanics and fused it with the living?
Not in the same way you have.
In what way, then?
I also include magic.
I see.
Back at the Outrunner, you are going to see Shadow suddenly come up from below the belly of the ship. It has now been about 20 minutes. She is going to spread her wings and jump and soar downriver. You're going to see Bali come up with Shadow from behind. She turns towards you. So, Triss has a request, she says, coming up towards you.
Oh, no.
She is doing repairs on the ship, she says. She kind of looks around, but she doesn't seem like the conversation's, super hush-hush.
She steps a little bit closer.
She goes, in trying to repair the side of the ship that burned, she's having to use some of the wood we picked up in Garen. But it's not sunwood, so it's threatening to unbalance the side of the ship. So much has been destroyed. She wants Shadow to find a sunwood tree for her. If we can stop and find one that's reasonably close to the shoreline, we can actually get some repairs done on the ship. Triss says that she can just carve it down to bars. And that girl's crazy.
Out of game. Is the sunwood tree on the other side of the river, not in the crystal forest?
Almost assuredly in the enchanted forest. There's no
Just
way
making
sunwood tree
sure.
grows in the crystal forest.
Yeah.
That's why Shadow's flying.
Okay.
So, after a minute, come here, she says.
She looks a little bit younger, like kind of the giggling girl when she takes that tone. What is it?
As you go down to the belly of the ship, she is going to walk into, down the stairs. Triss is on the inside of the hull, trying to strip out some of the wood while you guys are stopped, and then replacing it. You are going to see her expertly hold up a board, and then, with a nail, she's going to stick it with her hand hard enough to hold, and then one hit knocks the nail directly into the beam all the way.
That's my girl. She's awesome.
So it's for
I could do
one
that.
wood piece.
That's nice.
And she is so strong she can hold up a whole timber by herself. Sometimes she does it with half her arm there and the other one holding the nail. She truly is one of the best bosuns on the seas. She's going to turn. You showing her? Triss says up towards Bali. She nods. As you all head down, you're going to see rudimentary pictures drawn on the wall with ink. Shadow had some picture time with her tail, she says, trying to get across the thoughts.
What do the pictures look like?
So one is clearly like a little toothy shadow face. And then there's a tree, and then there is another tree with a little instead of leaves, it has little sun rays coming out from it. And you recognize a sunwood tree. And then the final one appears to be her bringing some of the logs back. They look like maybe a 7 or 8 year old drew them. And they're kind of messy, like someone used a big fat paintbrush.
She looks at Bali. Let's keep them.
She says, I'm worried that Cleeby's going to start painting all the walls.
Maybe just this one section. It would help if Cleeby could see something other than fear with Shadow. A whimsical side would help.
You should get them both to work together and put a mural out. That would
Totally
be
want to do
adorable.
it. Yep,
Okay,
that's
sorry,
the plan.
Not there. Continue. For her.
And one for you.
Oh, thank you.
You are going to notice, until the others come back, Triss is busting her ass. Like, she works hard all the time, but she is really, like, juggernauting the ship right now. And you're going to note that she's doing a lot of small chores that have sort of been on the back burner for a couple weeks as you guys have been on the run. It's almost frantic.
A strange feeling, I know why.
She'll say, Triss,
Hang on one sec, Captain, she says. She knocks, she claps down the barrel lid of one of your salted meat barrels. She turns towards you. Yeah, she says as she begins to roll the barrel into storage.
she'll say, I can't help but notice your pace has quickened as of late.
Gotta get everything done, she says, as she sort of rolls the barrel up onto the stack.
We always have to get everything done. Is there a particular reason why?
You're gonna see her slow down till she stops. Because I might not be able to, Captain.
Oh. I think you'll always be capable with this ship, Triss. Do you think you'll lose your place here with us?
I don't know what the future holds.
Nobody does. It's not just what's done to us, it's what we make of it.
Well, I'm making it. She's going to turn and... Excuse me, Captain.
She's going to turn and look at Bali like, woo, that tone. She's going to turn around and walk out.
Today is the day of Euphemia, the inspirational speaker.
She's so tired of it.
Finally! You hear Potjack say from the ship as the three of you come walking out of the Crystal Forest.
So are we out of the Crystal Forest?
No, you come walking to the river.
Okay.
As Dom throws down the gangplank, he's going to give each one of you a sort of back nod. Bali is going to yell down, "Hey, Roland, come here."
She moves her head like, go on.
Dom is going to say, "How did it go?" And then sees the, he's obviously seen the Aarakocra, like, looking around. Is it, all together?
He's fine.
Euphemia, you're obviously there as well.
Yep.
And Prongor is going to
She's
come
just
back
got him
up.
floating here by her, by the way.
"Master, welcome back."
Oh, thank you, Prongor.
I've been waiting for this.
Nice to get off the boat and stretch my legs for a bit.
He says.
Prongor.
As
So-
you...
She'll say, so, I assume everything was successful?
Can I hear her say that as I'm walking away? I laugh out loud.
Oh, dear.
You can see the young boy's as fit as a fiddle.
Young
It was a resounding
boy.
success.
It would seem that
Thought he was a grown
Lux
messenger.
doesn't have any memories of before the operation.
Yeah, Mom and Dad will tell you all about it.
Shut up, Roland.
What?
Cleby is going to come up towards and like,
Cleby?
"Kenku!" he says.
Cleby, this is Walks No Roads. Walks, this is Cleby. Be nice.
Cleby goes, and then back and forth at each other.
You just spit on me.
Sorry.
The two of them probably just spit on
happened in the
Juniper,
game,
so...
too.
Yep. June just goes. She rubs her hand off.
How
And
long
then
is
she
he staying? She
Casts prestidigitation to clean it off her hand.
Walks goes, "You hunt?" Clebe goes, "You hunt? You hunt? You hunt?"
Walks, I told you, you can't hunt until after we leave the Crystal Forest.
What does he want to hunt?
He just wants to hunt.
Well, at least they'll keep each other busy.
Good insight, Dad.
Thank you.
Roland,
Yeah.
you ever steered a ship before? Polly says. She's holding on to the wheel.
Nothing this big.
Want to try?
Yeah, sure.
Come here, she says.
I was worried your tone. I thought I was in trouble.
She's going to kick on the inside of your ankle to spread your feet a little bit.
Guilty
She
conscience?
says, "Get a strong stance. You don't want to be knocked over." Not that the Crystal Forest River is going to do that, but. And then she's going to carefully begin to explain the processes of pulling the ship away from dock. She says, "So you got to watch. Make sure that everything's going according to plan. The anchor needs to come up, and then the ropes need to come off the shore," she says. "All right. Take us left." As you steer the ship to the side, Dom's going to come up, and he sort of
are we doing with
leans
this
and
particulars?
watches.
She would have approved it with Polly before.
He's going to chime in.
Y'all need to carry your
Smooth
weight.
as possible.
Come on.
He says. As you take the great ship and begin to turn the wheel, you're going to feel it respond and slowly moves out into the river. There is a moment of small panic when you realize the other side of the river is coming up. But then you slowly sort of wheel it back the other way. It's a little heavier than you thought it would be.
He's probably he's sailed. He's used to rudder. He's never used a wheel before.
You watch as the ship breaks away from dock. Thank you, noble heroes. We really hope that you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, please give us a like and a subscribe, and we will see you next time. Have a good day.